And again, on the same line, Chief Leary told Jack that he was told by Mayor Madden that his position will end on January 2nd, which is the same day that Mayor Madden leaves office. Is it January 2nd?
Yes, I believe so. First or the second? It would be the second because the first is a holiday.
Yeah, first is a holiday.
Yeah.
How fair is that to an incoming mayor?
I will tell you that I don't believe it is fair. And secondly, Mayor Madden also mentioned the word entitlement. I don't believe anyone is entitled in the town of Weymouth to anything. Certainly not entitlement to a position from a leave of absence. So the word entitlement is, I guess, what got me rattled. It was not fair, especially in light of the fact that it will probably be investigated further.
How about Southfield? You're basically having a new growth in there. You know, it's like another head being grown on top of your shoulders.
That's for sure.
And
well put.
you know, under the next mayor is when it's really going to be up and running, almost full steam. You know, all the
yes,
all the development going on in there, all of the residential, the commercial building. Does Weymouth have sufficient resources available to handle this influx in schools, in public safety? The water is going to be coming from the MWRA, but so you're not going to have to deal with that. But you know, the transportation infrastructure, Route 18. Moving forward, are you prepared to deal with Southfield? And do you think that everything that's in place needs to be in place? Do you need more help from anybody?
A lot of questions there, Jack, and I think, no, and it certainly deserves it being the largest project on the South Shore. Let me begin by telling you that it is probably going to be our only source of revenue, sustainable revenue, in the future. So to make the base work is going to be very important. That being said, your other question was, are we ready? I don't think we're ready. We're not ready right now, no. Many of the issues have to be resolved. And you hit on a couple of them. One, the water, it has not been resolved yet, but yet we know in the end MWRA will probably be solving that situation. The school situation, I have not heard anything definitive other than keep in mind that the legislative act insists that none of the three towns will be impacted negatively. Now, when I say that cost-wise, so if an amount of children had to come, and let's say they didn't build a school or could not for some reason on the base, and had to come into the system in Weymouth itself, they would have to compensate the town for that, much like the federal government did when the Navy was in there and the Coast Guard, and we were compensated for the amount of children going in. Now, they have said that they will build a school, and we're going to hold them to that. We need to hold them to that because depending on how many children come into the base, and that's debatable, it went around from 300 students to 600 students to 800, and I guess one never really knows that, depending on what type of housing sells first, and that will be over a period of years. But ultimately, yes, they will be responsible, and they will have to accommodate the towns in which they impact. I've always, and I'm sure you all know that I did not initially vote for the base. The day after, I came out publicly supporting the council and our efforts to get the base going then, and my main concern was traffic. We have 3 entrances and exits coming out on Route 18. I believe it's within about 1.5 miles. That's a lot of hits to one roadway. You can widen it, do whatever you like, it's still a lot of hits. And I think that we're going to be seeing mitigation have to increase and let's say, traffic, in the way of traffic, every year that is going to have to be reevaluated. Now, MEPA has seen fit to allow, as you know, the first installment, this phase 1, with the improvements, and I believe it's the 3 intersections. As long as those 3 intersections on Route 18 are cleared, they feel that the phase 1 can come up and operate. I have to have trust in the state government, and will certainly be pursuing that type of mitigation and traffic slowing every time there's a little bit more growth.
When you say mitigation, are you talking about reopening the mitigation agreement with L&R? Or
No, I basically mean in general mitigating
making
traffic.
the town whole.
Exactly. And it may not necessarily be in the form of revenue. It may be in providing different forms of transportation to get to the train station. I mean, the hope is that they're going to expand on the South Weymouth station to kind of go into the base, and they're hoping that that'll take care of everything. Maybe it won't. Maybe we'll need to do shuttle buses down Route 18 or down other roadway areas. What I'm trying to avoid is clogging up all the areas where we all take our shortcuts. I do it myself to avoid Route 18, and everybody's going to be doing it while construction's going on, let's face it. Will Route 18 accommodate, once all the construction's done, all of the additional trips? And my concerns at the time were that I could not find consistent peer reports on traffic. We had traffic engineers doing reports, and none of them were consistent. And so I could not find, and to this day, do not have good levels of how many additional trips will happen on Route 18 itself. Now, they have since worked on the road coming out on Reservoir Road. I don't know that that's going to be accommodating enough to relieve. I hope it will. They say it will. I have to believe them right now. I as mayor of Weymouth, would want the base to be up, functional, and generating revenue, because again, it's going to be our only long-term source of income. So it would behoove me to have the base up and operating without negative impact, with the least amount of negative impacts to the town of Weymouth.
You think Tri-Town has served the towns well, or have they? There's been some rumblings that they seem to be more aligned with L&R than they are with the three towns that they're supposed to represent. Yeah. That mitigate, they weren't advocates in full for mitigation.
I'll tell you, Jack, that I believe that Tri-Town has had a very tough go of it. When you think about a lack of infrastructure and what they've really had to set up, I don't know that I would blame them necessarily. They don't have any money. So in order to say, okay, we're going to set up a department, a building department, we're going to set up a department for this, they have to wait around for some funding. Their budget's very low. Anytime they need to do something, they've got to go to the state for it. So they really have no basis for funding other than what they've been given from L&R. So I don't know if I would, it wouldn't be fair of me to make judgment. I would have liked to have seen a tax rate in place by now. I would like to have seen some more infrastructure done and had them look at that earlier. But again, I'm not a professional in there, and I don't, having not been on the Tri-Town Council itself, I don't know that that would be fair for me to make full comment. As the person who would be appointing, I would be looking at the appointments in a much different way, and be looking for people who can help out in that measure. To get that infrastructure going well, to make sure that they're cooperating with what the needs are on the state level.
When you mentioned, the budgeting that, obviously Braintree has its problems, but in Weymouth, like a lot of places, it's not a piece of cake too, especially with the revenue streams as it is. What's your approach? How in terms of what kind of tough decisions do you expect to make? How do you expect to either grow revenue or whatnot, especially in the short term?
Sure. Weymouth, as well as most of the communities south of Boston, are experiencing budget problems. We all have a balanced budget as of now. Health insurance increase are killers. In Weymouth, we have used up, first of all, we have not received the level of state funding that we had all the way back to 2003. So the state is not coming through, even though the towns are growing and the mandates are big from the state. They're not funding their mandates. Secondly, we have pretty much used up all of our one-time revenues, non-recurring revenues. We have sold land. We've done everything we can. There's just nowhere else to go. We are dependent on $2 million of that. So we have to make that up. That's absolutely true. I'm going to be looking for new ways of revenue. First of all, I'm going to be going in looking at a reorganization, and with measurement, I believe we can save money through reorganization. At the measurement that I discussed prior, to making sure that our departments are coming through, I think that we can have a gain, that we'll get a gain there.